These children, they don't have names out there, and we want to get some answers.
They were discarded like trash, and they are not trash. They are human beings just starting out in life, and they can't defend themselves.
And 11. We're kind of over in this area, but there's just so many that are unmarked. See, like here's one that's just unmarked, or you can't even read it, it's so faded. Oh, that baby was just a day old. September 26, 1940, baby boy. So this is the general area. A couple of other baby does were laid to rest.
Wait, where is it? Which one?
Right next to that tree. Utah has a list of victims most people never knew existed. These are infants found dead, discarded, and abandoned, no paper trail. Investigators call them baby does. In some cases go back more than a century. This infant Jane Doe was found in 1956, never entered into a police database, and until recently, most of these cases were not being investigated. How do you even begin to investigate what happened to a human being that on paper never existed? To help understand that, I went to possibly the one person in all of Utah who could answer that.
What I specialize in is unresolved homicide deaths.
Ben Pender is a detective in the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Cold Case Unit, and he's right now investigating 3 baby doe cold cases.
But unfortunately, there isn't a police report because it wasn't reported, so they were just found. And with that, you kind of have to start really at the bottom with the investigation and work your way through that.
Pender leans heavily on his relationships across agencies.
We have to find a funeral director, so they not only have to sign the paperwork from the health department, but they have to be present when an exhumation occurs, and they have to be present when we put that child back into their resting spot.
When working with tiny and brittle infant remains, an anthropologist can come in handy.
They are very good at identifying bones that we may look at and go, well, that doesn't look like a bone, but they're very good at making that identification.
If DNA can be collected, it goes to the lab. If a DNA profile can be produced, genetic genealogy builds a family tree.
It's a tool. It's not the ace, right? It's not that we're going to take that and go make an arrest or go charge or go, that's just a piece of the puzzle for us.
In one of his cases, Detective Pender identified bones, but wasn't able to get enough DNA from them for now.
We are going to just kind of hold right now on that particular case. We believe technology is going to get more and more sensitive, and wait a couple of years, and then at that point we will resubmit those bones and see if we can't get enough then to continue forward with the case.
Pender reopened a 1970s case and is trying to identify where the remains are, and in his third case he's been out twice to exhume, but was unable to find the remains.
The remains can sometimes be relatively close to one another, so you really have to be careful on where you're at, and again, keep in mind those maps that got forwarded on throughout the years at the cemetery. I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, 60s, we didn't have computers, so they're just being kind of drawn out on a paper map to show where these remains are.
With it being really, really difficult, and the fact that some of them are so old, why go forward with all these resources and time in your effort to try to crack these specific cases?
Because we owe it to these children, we owe it to these families, we owe it to our community to be able to get some answers.
Does part of you ever wonder, are there mothers out there that did something terrible and they're still in our community. Does that thought ever run through your mind as you investigate these cases?
Yeah, to some degree, but I'm more of a fact finder. I'm not a judge, so I'm not looking to be the person to judge, for whatever the circumstances were. I don't really focus more on that. I focus really more on trying to get some answers.
A lot of missing persons cases before the 1970s don't exist today in a form that's easily searchable. That's because those cases were never entered into a centralized system. Today, that's Alyssa Bertetto's job.
A lot of times these are discarded. So this can be trash cans or wilderness areas, canyons.
Putting these babies on the radar of investigators starts by looking at a death certificate.
I put in the keyword unidentified, and I got a lot of results. And what I found is a lot of those are, unfortunately, babies and newborns.
Bertetto of the Doe Network has identified 80 baby does in Utah that go back to 1904, with the most recent case from 2000. She's gathered enough qualifying information to pass on 11 baby doe cases to state investigators. What's the difference there?
So when I have those 80 cases, a lot of those are on a spreadsheet that I have, and they are in the process of being researched. So once I have a death certificate, I can match those to newspaper articles. I go to the newspaper index and the archives, and I start matching those up. And then once I have that matched up, I can go and get a burial record or a cemetery record to find out where they ended up. So once that's all put together, I send that over to the Statewide Information Analysis Center, and they're able to put that together and send that over to the agency. And it's up to the agency to open a case and investigate it from there.
Most safe haven laws allowing for a legal, anonymous alternative to infant abandonment weren't passed until the 1990s or 2000s. 74 of Utah's 80 cases happened before Roe v. Wade made abortion legal in 1973. And prior to Roe, legal access to abortion varied widely by state. CDC data shows a long-term decline in infant homicide rates from the 1990s onward, which aligns with the passage of safe haven laws. So Bertetto works on the most recent cases and works backwards in time.
And they take a lot of time. It's slow, meticulous work. And I want to make sure that we go over everything with a fine-tooth comb and we don't miss anything.
Without having anything at all, you're really just getting a DNA profile that will be housed somewhere or used for investigative genetic genealogy, which can be successful, definitely. So it's a possibility, but it's challenging.
Dr. Corey Russo, the chief medical examiner investigator for the state of Utah, and her team is one of the first to respond when remains are found.
An exhumation is more involved because our office has to approve of that and work together with agencies and the court system to even plan for that exhumation to happen in the first place. So it's more planned out.
Every step is documented.
But once we are able to say, okay, this decedent is here, there's enough to work with, then we can bring them to our office. And at that point, they will be examined for trauma. The extent of the examination will depend on what remains are left as well.
Dr. Russo says age and time are the enemies.
Some of these cases are so old, we don't have record of who they even could be, or maybe the circumstances where they were initially found can be very hard to obtain.
How important are those pieces of information to ultimately cracking a case?
Pretty important. I mean, the more information we have from the point of the scene, the better idea we can have of what cause and manner of death could have been, possibly.
It seems like the very basic thing we as a society can do. and we should.
Making that determination is the job of Dr. Deidre Amaro, the chief medical examiner.
The oversimplification of three main charges of our office is that we are to determine cause of death, manner of death, and identify the decedent. So in some cases, identifying the decedent is all we can do. And in some cases, we can't even do that, which is very frustrating.
Dr. Romero says the work is largely for families who may still be waiting for answers.
Contrary to popular belief, so much of what we do is really for the living. And I think there's something very fundamentally human about having a name. Like when we're born, we're given names. That kind of makes us human. And so our office is very much invested in, at the very least, even if we can't say why someone is dead, who are they?
With infants, the science gets even harder. There are no fingerprints in the system, no dental records, no markers to follow.
So our major routes of identification aren't available to us.
Still, she says technology is catching up.
The techniques we have available, even now, compared to when I started my training, are so much better for identification. And just imagine how much more we will develop and grow and learn.
Every human life matters. From a scientific perspective, we're always looking to use science to help answer questions and help find the truth.
Another one of the first calls law enforcement makes when working a baby doe case is the Utah Bureau of Forensic Services. That's where Heather Mills steps in, working with investigators to decide what evidence could potentially build a case. Her role is part science, part strategy.
What samples would be best? Can we get DNA from something? What's the best technology to use? Can the lab do it? Are we going to be working with a private lab? What that process is for outsourcing?
Sometimes there is only one shot. Mills says every decision has to balance what can be done now against what might be technologically possible years from today.
There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of things to consider when you're trying to decide what's the best approach for this sample or for this case. I mean, from my perspective, you feel excited and you feel happy that you're able to help provide some kind of answer using science and using the technologies that exist and be able to provide an answer that has been missing for a long time.
Utah's cold case database was not established until 2018, mandating all law enforcement agencies enter their cases into the system.
When I started, there was no baby doe cases that I was aware of. And then when I had cases sent over to me from the Doe Network, I kind of opened up my eyes. I'm like, why are these cases, just out there and they're not being put into the database?
Motives of why these babies were discarded are not known, but stigma, fear, and pressure may have played a role.
From what I can see, it could be something religiously, stigma, I'm too young, what are my parents going to think, I'm not ready to be a mother, all those kinds of things. And some of them I would assume were like a last moment, spur of a moment decision. They were scared.
Cold case homicide analyst Kathy McKay believes someone, somewhere, often knows more than they say.
Someone has to know that these mothers were pregnant and all of a sudden there's no baby, so where are people asking questions? I feel like family members, friends, associates, someone has to know that something happened to that baby. And I don't know why no one asked questions.
The physical evidence is often fragile or gone entirely, making DNA testing and the cause of death hard, if not impossible, to determine.
I mean, you have to understand some of these babies are found in, the rivers, the creeks, under rocks, in the dumpster, outside toilets, in the garbage dump, burned.
A lot of these cases are old. Some of them are very, very old. They're hard cases to crack. Why should we care to put the time, money, and resources into them?
Because there's always that one. There's always that one that we might be able to get DNA out and give it a name, give it a proper burial, get it to hopefully a family that might have remorse and just know that that baby has been identified and they were discarded like trash. And they are not trash. They are human beings just starting out in life and they can't defend themselves. And so to me, If justice can be served, I would like to see justice.
My role is to help connect the DNA from this unknown person, in this case a baby, to the family that they're related to.
On the science side of these cases is Catherine Moore, an investigative genetic genealogist. She helps police supplement their traditional leads.
When a case lands on your desk, what's the first thing you do or look at?
The first thing I'm looking at is how many biological relatives have we been able to identify connected to this person.
Moore uses public databases and a newer form of testing to search for distant relatives.
It allows us to look at one DNA sample and say, who are they related to? So they don't have to be into the system. We can identify them using third cousins, fourth cousins, people who are relatively close, but not necessarily close enough to know this person personally.
And with this, newer science doors are opening that investigators never knew to even try to open before.
Everybody should have a name and should have an identity. It is hard to see a child that should have been loved, should have been cared for, to have met such a fate and to have been treated in such a manner.
For these babies that never had a chance in life, never got a birth certificate, never got a headstone, never had a family member come forward, the hope is that decades later, advancements in science and technology can give them back what time never could, their identities. And the public can help investigators crack these cold cases by submitting their DNA to public databases, which gives them just that much more to cross-reference against these remains. Thanks for watching this YouTube original. I'm Jim Spiewak for KUTV 2 News.